guest is someone who truly defies categories. Jesse Itzler is a serial entrepreneur, endurance athlete, author, and lifelong experimenter in what it means to live life fully. He sold companies to small mom and pops like Warren Buffett and Coca-Cola, completed Ultraman at 53, builds brands centered around growth through challenge, and somehow still finds time to be a deeply present husband and father. So for years, HFA's member network, that's made up largely of entrepreneurs in the fitness and wellness space, has consistently named Jesse as one of the people they most want to hear from. So we are beyond excited to welcome him here today on Shorts with Liz, but also as our day 2 keynote speaker at HFA on March 17th, which is also my anniversary. It's also Mike on my team's birthday. So March 17th is going to be a huge day. Can't wait to have you, Jesse. Thanks so much for joining us.
I can't wait to be there and to celebrate your anniversary.
Oh, it's great. Okay, well, listen, let's just jump in, right? You've got such an amazing career. But before we get into a little of that, I'd love to talk a little bit just about before the music deal, the businesses and the endurance races. You were just a kid growing up in Long Island. And you often credit your dad's tough, sort of old school resilience approach to life as a major influence on who you became, which is really, in theme with actually my guest last week, who was Apollo Ono, the speed skater, who talks so much about the influence that his father had on his career, particularly as well. So when you look at it and you think about your upbringing, do you think it's really maybe your upbringing that shaped your entrepreneurial spirit, or do you think it's something that was maybe always a little bit more innate in you?
Oh, probably a combination, but I think my upbringing played a big role in it. My parents, first of all, I had nothing to do with the parents that I got. I got parents that were married for 65 years and were super present. And my dad owned a plumbing supply house. My mom stayed at home and raised 4 kids. And but my parents gave me a long leash. They were super encouraging, but they didn't overschedule me. I had a big part of my childhood was spent outdoors, and another part of my childhood was spent being bored and daydreaming about what it is I wanted to do or could do or maybe would become. And that played a big role in a creative side of me, in patience. And my dad definitely was the kind of father, and my mom, who allowed me, they didn't strip me of disappointment. Like they let me experience disappointment,
Yeah.
which disappointment's a part of life. As an entrepreneur, you will be disappointed, and how you deal with that can be one of your greatest assets. And they let me experience it. Like my dad never let me beat him in checkers my whole life. He never let me win. Like just he made me earn things. And like that might not sound significant, but it was very significant because it made me realize like I got to work for something if I want it. No one's going to give it to me, not even my own parents. And so I was constantly getting reinforced lessons like that. And I think that played a really big role, especially like an endurance athlete where it's so easy to quit in long races. My parents taught me how to not to quit.
And I love what you just said also, that you weren't overscheduled as a mom of some kids myself, and it's a balance that we try to balance, right, with not overscheduling them, giving them a long leash, but also the ability to dream and to get creative. So I love to hear that's a little of your foundation as well. So after college, which we just talked about, you went to here at American in Washington, D.C. You didn't really take the traditional route that many do after college, right? You signed with Delicious Vinyl. You became Jesse James. You released your own songs and wrote for artists like Tone Loc. You didn't write Wild Thing, did you?
I wish I did.
Okay.
The podcast would be very different if I did.
It would be our intro music, I think, but right now we'd probably have to pay a lot of music rights for it. So, okay. But you went on, you created the iconic Knicks anthem, Go New York Go, and other like original songs for over 50 professional teams. So tell us a little bit about how did Go New York Go really come together? And what was it like then hearing music that you made become part of the sports culture for your favorite team?
Well, Liz, you mentioned that I got signed after college to a record label called Delicious Vinyl, but it wasn't that easy. When I started out on my journey, like I wanted to get into the music business. That's what I grew up in New York in the 80s when hip hop and music was coming on, like in a whole different genre was emerging. I was super into it. I'm this young kid in New York. I loved it. I wanted to be a part of it. I made a demo in I'd never been in a studio. I don't sing. I had no connections, zero. Um, so the only way that I could make a demo was to take an instrumental, which is the music portion of a CD, put it in my CD player, go to my answering machine and hit record and leave a little rap. And that was my demo. I shot that little demo to 15 record companies and they all said no. But again, like going back to my parents, my dad had taught me about disappointment. He beat me for 50 years in checkers, you know. So record label 16, Delicious Vinyl, signed me. So part of the reason why I got a deal is just I stayed in the game long enough to get a deal. A lot of people that I was partners with along the journey dropped out. Like they were just sick of the rejection. I love the rejection. I'm like, it's just weeding out all the competition. So I got the record deal, but it didn't go great. I got dropped from the record company like a year after. I didn't sell my record didn't do great. And
Did
but
you still have to edit things on the answering machine? Because I can appreciate that.
I well,
Maybe
listen,
a little bit more advanced by the
yeah.
time you were, yeah.
Um, but my wife always says you find your true purpose at the intersection of what it is you love to do, what you're good at, and providing a product or service that helps people. Like if you know what you like to do, you're good at it, you're helping people, you've kind of found your purpose or part of it. I love sports and I love music. So I decided to combine those two things. And entrepreneurs either do one or two things. They make something that exists better, or they create something that doesn't exist, something new. And that's what I did. I was like, no teams have theme songs. I love sports and music. I'm going to write a theme song for the Knicks. So I was able to get a meeting with them and convince them that they need a theme song and a video. At the time, sports were like shifting to more like from just people would go to a basketball game for 3 hours, but the game itself was only like 48 minutes. So now you started seeing dancers and bands and DJs. So like I was like, let's make a video, like a rally video. And they gave me a shot. And that song, Go New York, Go, became in 1991, it's still played today, over 35 years later, but it became the number one most requested song in New York in the 90s. And other teams would come in and be like, why don't we have a song like this? And that led to me writing theme songs for all the different sports teams. And then I sold that company to a public company. And the owner of the public company had a private jet and he invited me as a guest on the plane. And that's where we came up with the idea for Marquee Jet, which ultimately, went on to do bazillions of dollars in sales.
That's so funny because I was just going to say, so ultimately you went from the music industry to brands like Marquee Jet and Zyko to the 100 Mile Group and Big Ass Calendar Company. So you've built so many businesses with these incubated ideas and really created concepts that range everything from practical to playful, which is so reflective of you as a person and your personality. So I think looking back maybe at everything that you have started and created, which one of these ventures or ideas maybe are you most proud of? And is there one that really stands out? Or are they all like your favorite children and you can't pick just one?
Uh, I'm going to answer it two ways. I think the thing that had the biggest impact on me was getting a record deal. Wasn't any of the businesses because I had nothing. I was sleeping on my friend's couch at the time. I slept on 18 different friends' couches between the ages of 18 and 22. And I had no contacts. I didn't have a lawyer, a manager. I was getting all the appointments myself. I was young. I kept going. I was persistent. One thing you have to do is anybody listening, no matter what you do, you have to believe in the end of your story. If you're single, you have to believe he or she's out there. If you're going for a job, you have to be like, I'm the one person that's going to get this job. And I always knew I would get a record deal. And when it finally happened, it was like, wow, man, like if I could do that with no help, get in the door, get a demo. Like what I went through is just insane. It was insane. It made me feel like I could do anything. And I've carried on that conviction for the last 3 decades. I got a 980 on my SAT. So I knew I would never be the smartest person in the room. But I also, again, going back to your first question about my upbringing, I was just so accustomed to like disappointment, not disappointment, like just, not having to work for it, and like staying with it. So that proved to me that, wow, if I just can stay in it long enough and care the most and be passionate, like those are all attitudes, not skills. You don't learn that in college. Everybody has that. And when I started realizing that those attitudes will translate into anything I do, caring the most, staying in it, being good to people, like all the things. So that had a really big impact on me at a young age. As far as like the business stuff, um, there's a million great entrepreneurs out there. I don't think of myself as anything special. I've had great partners, good ideas. We've been able to execute it. Um, I'm really proud of how I live my life outside of business. I've been able to mix in amazing adventures, races, books, just like building a really complete life around those things. And that's probably what I'm most proud of for sure.
Well, so I got to ask you, as I'm also a deep music lover, and I had the opportunity recently to spend some time with some songwriters out of Nashville, and the songwriters wrote a song that eventually Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers recorded called "You Can't Make Old Friends." And so I hope that those 18 friends that you shared their couch with are still in your life in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
capacity, right? Because you think about what those people mean to you so early in life, and the business and everything, and what evolves in that later. It's great to have old friends, right?
Yes, they are still in my life. And, y- you know, your 20s are so fun. Like I was lucky. A lot of my friends gave up their 20s, they went from 20 to 50 like that. The average Americans gains 2 pounds a year from 30 to 50. Like they just sort of, some people that I knew fell apart. And I was lucky that like in my 20s, I got to try so many different things and like fail, succeed, you know, everything. So I really feel like uh I milked my 20s, and those guys and girls that I slept on their couches, like they were a big part of it. Like they believed in me too. So it wasn't just like I had this belief in myself, but I also had the support system of people that were like, I got a feeling something's going to work out for you, and it did.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, so you have done so many interesting things, right? You've lived with Navy SEALs, you've learned from monks, maybe two groups that are wildly different, but also both really understand discipline, patience, and maybe restraint, but in very different ways. So when you think about your time with those two groups, what maybe ultimately drew you to them and helped inspire? You talked about your books, but helped inspire living with the SEAL and living with the monks.
Yeah. So you're talking about two different experiences. One is I had an Navy SEAL, a guy by the name of David Goggins, that lived with our family, me and my family, for a little bit of time. And then I lived on a monastery with 8 monks that had been there for 50 years for about a little bit less than a month. And
Do they just let anybody come live with them? How does that work? How do you just start living with monks?
yeah, um, I don't think they do that. But I had a friend of mine that had a relationship with the monastery, and she had put a call in, and they agreed to do it, and
So cool.
it was cool. But listen, the bottom line is like I don't really. Everybody learns differently. I learn through experiences. I feel like if you do stuff with people outside like of work, you go on an adventure, you run a marathon, you do a fitness challenge, you'll bond with them in one experience like that more than you will a 10 years sitting at a cubicle. And I learn the same way. I get so much more from hands-on experiencing. So I realized that we've been taught our whole life to spend time around like-minded people, like surround yourself with like-minded people. And that's true, I guess. But I am so much more interested in meeting people that aren't like me, like experts in what they do in fields that I'm interested in. So when I was thinking about like my spirituality, which like I over index in like my wellness, the energy I put into like having a trainer and getting good food but I don't put that same energy into like the spiritual side of me. I'm like, who are the masters? And everything pointed to monks. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll go live with the monks for a month and see what I can learn. So that was sort of how, and I did. So I went there and that's, I've been doing that my whole life. I live with Wim Hof for a week in Poland. I'm really into sauna culture. I went to Finland and did a tour of the 30 best saunas basically in the world in Finland with guides and experts to learn about hot and cold and contrast therapy. Um, this is not nothing new to me. I read a book when I was 22 called Fit for Life by this guy Harvey Diamond and Marilyn Diamond. It sold about 17 million copies. Um, and one of the principles is to only eat fruit until noon, which I've done for 35 years. And 10 years after I read the book, I Googled the author's phone number. It came up on the internet. I cold called them and we became really good friends. So I think I have something, Liz, that like in fifth grade, when you like somebody and you write a note, like, would you be my friend? I kind of did that with the monks, the Navy SEAL, the author, Wim Hof. Like, I'm just kind of reach out um, that's how it came to be.
Oh man, and the books are incredible as a result. I got to ask you, is there another book on the horizon?
Oh, there is, Liz. Oh, there is. I am
Okay.
working on three different books right now. Actually, I have one right here. Um,
Ooh.
but one of them, so I have Living with the Seal, Living with the Monks. You have Living with the Seal in the background there. And
Hmm.
I'm working with right now on a book called Living with Sarah about living with my wife. We started Spanx, sold it, great
Yep.
entrepreneur, and it's a parenting marriage, funny approach to parenting and marriage with a lot of good and entrepreneurship with a lot of good takeaways.
Well, that's going to be a tremendous book. If people haven't heard your wife speak, she's really tremendous too. So, really, I think a match made in heaven, the two of you all. So, I'm excited for that one. So recently you shared on LinkedIn that we're going to shift back to sort of the fitness side of things. That the secret to running 100 miles is actually walking. And using Jeff Galloway's run, walk, run method, and how that rhythm really kept you moving for every day for 35 years, in addition to the fruit every morning. You ended that post with a simple but a really powerful message. And it said, just move, trust that motion creates momentum. Why do you think people struggle with this idea that slowing down or breaking things into small steps can actually help them go farther? Let me stop there and see why, if you think that might be.
Well, there's a lot there. So for starters, for me, completing a 100-mile race, that was the best system for me. The run walk method was the best system. I wasn't trying to win anything. I'm never trying to win anything. I only race and participate in events like that to learn about me, to feel good. I love training. So like I'm not trying to win anything. That system, having tried many things, was the best thing for me, the run walk, for a couple of reasons. One, I want to do this when I'm 150. So I want to have my goal now is to like run, exercise, bike, swim, participate, ski with my kids as long as I can. I found like that's better on my joints. It allows me to be out there longer than just running and just going as hard as I can or whatever. I'm reward driven. So like I know mentally I can run 7 minutes forever. I can't run 24 hours forever, but if I break it up into 7 minute runs, 3 minute walks, I can run a 7 minute block forever. And that's how whether that's true or not, that's what I'm telling myself. So I'd much rather run 7 minutes and get rewarded with a 3 minute recovery walk than think I got to go run for 24 hours straight or whatever it's going to take me. So mentally, whatever you're doing, you want to create a plan. I don't want to say you want to. This is what works for me. So I'm just talking on theory based off of me. Maybe it's different for other people, but I like to have a plan that I can execute that's going to work for me. And that model worked way better than like, oh my God, I got to go run nonstop for 20 plus hours. And then I practiced it and believed it, like this whole thing, whether it's endurance sports, business, whatever, what you believe you can do and that actual believing it into your like DNA is really, really important. I mean, when I was sleeping on those friends' couches, I used to say to myself, I'm a millionaire. They just haven't paid me yet. Like I believed I was a millionaire. I just had the money. And I believed I ran the race before I even got to the starting line. So the system, buying into whatever your system is, is important. Um, and I think that I'm a product of trial and error. There's so many different schemes, systems, belief, whatever. I try things, and if it works for me, I stick with it. Fruit till noon is a good example. In the book Fit for Life that I read, Harvey Diamond, the author, challenged the reader to try eating fruit only till 12 noon for 10 days consistently. Day 11, go back to your normal breakfast, eggs, pancakes, whatever you eat, toast. I don't know. So I'm like, I can invest 10 days. Let me see how I feel. Well, the first couple of days I didn't feel great, but then I started feeling better. And then day 11, I went back to my insanely disgusting breakfasts that I was eating. And I was like, this, no. And I've never gone back. Unwavering. We're
Okay,
right now
so
it's
where are you at on bacon? Please tell me that you haven't completely removed bacon from your life.
I'm sorry to say, Liz, I haven't had bacon in 40 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you're going to live to be 150, so
I don't know. I don't know
everybody
about
has
that.
trade-offs.
I don't know if I'm going to live to be 150, but if I do, I want to be running.
Yeah. Love it. Well, so Jesse, for people that are feeling maybe stuck or behind, what's your advice on just what's the simplest way to start creating forward motion, like on day one? Is it to just start to take one day at a time to create a habit? How would you help or advise people that are stuck?
Everybody's different, so I don't think there's a one size fits all. I'm a big believer in momentum, so getting small daily wins, setting up your day the night before. I mean, a lot of people just wake up and think they can wing it. It doesn't work like that. The competition's too good. The world throws too many things at you. Laying out a plan of what you have, 8 o'clock, I'm here, 9 o'clock, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work out. I'm going to go to work, take my kids. Like having a schedule and a blueprint is really important for me. So I think that's important. But anything like when you're spiraling, you got to put a stop plug in it or like it can get out of control. So for me, my stop plug is just momentum, whatever creates momentum. Any way I can get a small win. That could be cleaning out my closet. That could be like errands. Like if one area of your life is struggling, let's say I'm struggling at work, or maybe I'm struggling with my weight, it doesn't mean that I should neglect my kids and like everything has to fall apart. Like, okay, this thing is messed up right now, but I'm still going to eat clean, exercise, make my call. Like, you know what I mean? Like I try to still keep those buckets until I can fix whatever is broken.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you talk about schedule and priorities, and that's something that my husband, we do every weekend. He calls it our stress list. And it's really just a list of just the things that we need to get done. But it's everything from, well, we need to work out. We need to, put time in the schedule to make healthy food, but then also we got to organize a closet. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. And then for us, once you started check, 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 you start to feel the momentum of, you're creating a more orderly lifestyle with some wins, and they might be
Right.
small wins, but that's what our weekends look like, and that's what we do when we get stuck. Um, so you've been chasing a lot of big experiences your whole life, and at the moment of time that you're in now, how do you kind of keep that sense of curiosity, excitement, and momentum alive? How do you keep all that from what you had in your 20s, or does it shift and look different over time?
It hasn't shifted for me. I think Gandhi said it best. he said, learn like you'll live forever and live like you'll die tomorrow. And I try to kind of live in those two worlds. Like I'm curious. I love to learn. I also love to live. You know, I'm a big believer in urgency, not having the need to have everything figured out, ready, fire, aim. You know, I sign up for stuff that I'm not prepared to take on, and then I back my way into it. I sign up for business projects that I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm convinced that I'll find someone that will, or I'll figure it out, and then I'll make some mistakes along the way. But like, I am action oriented for sure. And I've always been that way. And maybe that goes back to my upbringing, but um, I am best in movement and yeah, I love action. I love taking on challenges and having a lot of balls in the air.
And as
Everyone's
it
different
shows with
though.
your success, I love it. So so if you don't mind, I'd love to do a little bit of rapid fire here so we can get to
Ooh,
just know you a little bit
I love
um,
rapid
as
fire.
we close out. Okay, all right. So let's start with an easy one. Sauna or cold plunge?
That's not easy. That's like saying, who's your favorite kid? That's not
Okay.
easy, Liz.
Or do you want to take that one last? Do you need a minute?
No, I would say if I had to take one, I'd probably take a sauna.
Okay. What's the first album you ever bought?
Oh, it wasn't an album, it was a single. This Peggy, I think Peggy Sue Robinson, Turn the Beat Around, which was in like 1970. I was probably 76, 78. You
Yeah,
know that
that's a
song?
great song.
Turn the
Yeah.
beat around.
Turn the beat around. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love to feel the pressure. Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to know the story around that?
Yes.
I saved up my allowance. I rode my bike to Tower Rec or whatever Record World, I think it was called, which was like 5 miles from my house. I was young. And I took all my money and I bought, it was an album. I bought the album. And then I came home and I put it on a record player. And I realized that I didn't like all the other 10, 11 songs on the album, but I liked this one. And I felt so ripped off. And it was a great lesson about value,
Yeah,
about like,
singles. I mean, singles were the bomb in the day. I mean that was the way to go. And
yeah, singles
so,
were the bomb.
yep, yeah. Okay. If you could have dinner with one person, alive or dead, who would it be?
I mean, my grandma, if it was one person, it would be my grandma. She's not alive, or my parents. They're both not alive. Um,
Yeah.
if it was someone living, I don't know. Um, I really want to meet Eminem. I've never met Eminem. I know like people like dignitaries, and I'll tell you something interesting. I was at a dinner party and I was asked this question, but it was for three people. And when I named the three people I wanted to have dinner with, they were all rappers. And the reason was I wanted to meet the people that changed the trajectory of my life as a
Yep.
teenager growing up in New York in the 80s. So when I left, I invited all 12 people that I wanted to meet, and they all came and we had a dinner, all 12 of them.
Oh, that's so cool. Well,
It was really
Eminem
cool.
couldn't have been one of those.
He wasn't.
Yeah. And Eminem just had a granddaughter, I believe, and her initials, what I love, are M and M. So I think that's really cute.
It's
Um,
cool.
yeah. Okay, two more. What are you reading right now? Or are you just busy writing three books so you don't have time to read?
I'm reading about a Japanese word called, I'm going to mispronounce this, ashigi. I have it right here. Which is the a way of life in Japan where that breeds happiness and longevity, and it's around having a purpose. But like I can't retain anything I read. That's why I have to go to a monastery and live with a seal. Because so I think maybe I have to go to Japan and live with them to understand the word and what the hell I'm reading. But yeah, I'm reading a book about longevity based on a Japanese ritual.
I love that. I'm the same way. I have to highlight and tab things and everything I read. All my books are
It's
a
gonna be a
mess that
shitty
way.
book. Yeah,
Okay, I got a last one, and now I'm kind of
it
afraid to
might not
ask
be.
it based on our conversation earlier. But what is your biggest food indulgence?
Well, I'm basically a fruitarian. So my diet's like about 85 to 90% fruit. So I would say my biggest indulgence by far are various fruits.
Like a variety of fruits that you don't have every day.
I mean, I eat it every day. I have
Yeah.
like pomegranates today. I had bananas. I had apples. I had some dates. Is date a fruit? I don't know, but I had some dates. Can't call it a fruit. Um,
Especially if a date is wrapped in bacon. That's the best way to have a date. Just
yeah,
saying.
no, it's okay.
Okay, well, listen, Jesse, before we wrap, I just have to say that we are so incredibly excited to have you as our keynote at HFA again on March 17. Can you just give our audience a quick preview of what they can expect in your keynote, The Spiritual Billionaire?
Liz, I'm gonna be funny.
I expect nothing less.
I'm gonna be funny.
Yeah.
No, listen, I'm bringing a DJ with me to your event. So he's
Damn.
going to play some music while I share some stories. And I've had a very unconventional journey as an entrepreneur. So I think I want to share a bunch of those stories. And I think there'll be a little bit of wisdom and practical advice and strategies that everybody can apply to their own journeys in business and in life. So I think people are going to get a lot out of it. I'm really excited about it. And we'll mix in some humor.
Well, we can't wait to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you'll be a highlight, and just can't wait to meet you in person. Thanks for doing this with us today.
I can't wait, Liz. I'll see you on your anniversary.
Yes, yes, sir. Be well.
Be well.